All right, now for the variable part of this. Variables are everything, in my opinion, with online learning. They are done very simply in Storyline. The most important thing that you need, and this is the most cliche way to do it, so I'm just going to do this one really first, is I'm going to go to Insert. And to get a variable, you can either update it through a trigger or record data through an input, right? So everything needs to be input. So I'm going to go to Insert here. Then you see here I have input. What I'm going to do is go down to data entry. You can see that just judging from these little icons here, this is a text data entry, and this here is a numerical one. I want to do the text one, so I'm just going to grab that and put it here on stage. You can see that this is nothing more than a box. You've seen this a million times. You've probably also seen this a million times. I'm going to say type your name below. Type your name below. Okay, so I'm going to put that up there. Delete that. And we're good, okay? So you've seen this before. Basically, this is nothing more than putting your name in here, and then later we're going to retrieve it, right? So there's an empty cell. Once you put your name in it, we're going to update that cell, and then later we're going to say, hey, whatever's in that cell, display it here. So I can easily do that just by simply going way over here to the right. You can see this little square box. That little square box has an X in it. And for those of us who have ever taken a math course, you know that that X means variable, right? Solve for X, solve for X, solve for X. So we're going to click on that. And just like, I don't know what those are, so let me delete them. So just like everything else in Storyline, it comes up with this little wizard window here, and we're good to go. So we want to add a variable. So again, math course, we see this big plus sign. I'm going to click on that. It says variable name, and I'm just going to call it user name. I do want it to be text, and I do not want it to have a value because the value, of course, is what the user is going to input. So I'm just going to hit OK. And then here you can see username, text, and we're good. So I'm just going to hit OK. So now what I can do is click on this input text box that we put on stage. And then way over here you can see that something blue is highlighted. So I'm just going to double click on that because that, of course, is what happened when I put that text entry. The moment I put that text entry on stage, this appeared in my trigger panel. And by this, I mean a trigger. So when I double clicked on that, the trigger wizard came up, and there's only one thing that it expects when you put an input text box on the screen, and that is there's going to be a variable recording. So as you can see here, it says set variable, and now I get to pick which variable I want to set. So of course we're not going to use unassigned. Text entry is the default that came with it. We don't want that. And then there's our username. That's the one that we made. So we made a variable, empty. All we said was here's a variable and it was empty. Remember that value was blank. What we're saying is whatever is being typed in this input text box right here, update that variable username. So that value that was blank, we're saying whatever goes in this input text box is going to go in that value. So just hit OK. Now there's nothing crazy, nothing weird. It's just that this is what it is, right? So I click on it. Here you go, and I can type away. That really means nothing now. So I'm going to go ahead and say close preview. What I want to do is be able to display that, right? I want to be able to, if I say, hey, welcome to my training, and then put your name in there, on these subsequent slides, I want to be able to say, hey, Brian, thanks for taking our training, right? So to do that, okay, this is not wizardry, this is not anything like magic. All you have to do is put a text box on the stage. I do that by using Command T. And then all I have to do is remember what I named that variable. I remember that I named it username. So I'm going to say username. I'm going to put that right here. And I don't like open sans, so I got to change that, and I'm going to knock it down a little bit, okay? But to display it, so there needs to be something a little bit special wrapped around that text for Storyline to know that it should update it with whatever variable that we determined. And that is nothing more than a % wrapped around the name of that variable. See that? So %, name of the variable, %. We know the name of the variable because darn it, we created it, right? So it's %, username, %. So I'm going to come over here, and I think I'm going to need the next button. Actually, I know I'm going to need the next button. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to type my name in here, and lo and behold, it should show up right here. So let's see what happens. Preview this slide. Type my name below. Okay, Brian J. Seeley. And then if I click next, hey, jump to next slide. Why didn't it jump to next slide? Oh, because I only did that slide and not the whole scene. Very funny. There we go, Seeley. So here we go. Type your name. We'll try this again. Brian J. Seeley. Go to the next slide. All right. Why is that not working? Okay, so I click on it, jump to next slide. Ow, user swipes. Can't swipe. Jump to slide, next slide, and next one. So you actually have to have a trigger on a button for it to do something. That's a good thing to remember. Okay, again, here we go. Try the scene. Brian J. Seeley. Wipes. Seeley. Now when I hit the next button, you can see that my name appears right there. Brian J. Seeley. And of course, I could put it on any one of these slides. So I can grab this. And it is a universal / global thing. So no matter what slide I put this on, the moment that that variable is updated, so the moment that we made this thing, that value is empty, see that? But that input text box is putting a value in here. And for us to call to that value, all we have to do is wrap that thing in %, and it'll appear. Now it's very important. Like, so this was a, if I should go ahead and show this now, I'm going to go ahead and say, put a capital U here. And look at this slide here. %username %. So we know that's there, but when I preview this slide, there's nothing there. You see that? It's because that value is empty. Didn't expect to see anything. Now on this next slide here, see how I put a capital U there instead? So I'm going to say preview this slide. Hey, well, it wasn't supposed to show, but it did. It will not show when I update that because it is case sensitive, is what I was about to try and show you, that this capital U matters. So I'm updating the variable lowercase u. See? This uppercase U won't matter. What I'm trying to say is it's case sensitive, okay? So one thing that you can do to kind of combat that, to make sure that you're getting the actual variable you want in a text box, is, again, I can do Command T, and that gets me my command text box. Then I can come up here and say Insert. Then I can go over here and say Reference. And then there it is. I get to pick whatever variable I want. So that way I know for a fact that I'm going to get that in there. It's going to be spelled correctly. It's going to be the perfect case that I want and all those other things. So that's definitely one way to do it. It's a very efficient way to do it. That way you don't have any misspellings. Okay? So that is a quick introduction to variables. And I'm just going to post those two videos, and we'll do the other ones here shortly.